Once more onto the puzzles page, dear friends, once more. I'll fill it yet. Yes, it's taken a while as this. This isn't today's crossword. This is the Cryptic, which it says right there. It's a bit of a giveaway. The way Cryptic Crossword works is pretty much the same as any other crossword here, with, words in a grid crossing each other. The clues each have a definition and wordplay. And having filled it all in, I'm able to explain each one of them. If I can remember it. So, hey, focus, that would help. Stresses English politician has increases withheld initially. What? Well, some things in here that will be familiar to veterans. English politician. A politician in England, or indeed Britain, United Kingdom, whatever you want to call it, subject to change at the moment anyway, is a Member of Parliament, abbreviated to MP. So there's quite possibly MP in this somewhere, and English can be abbreviated to E, so maybe EMP. And withheld initially could mean hold back the first letter. So a word for increases, with its first letter held back, put EMP on the beginning of it, and you have a word for stresses. Possibly. EMP has, see, has was actually part of it. EMP has, English politician has, rises without the R, emphasises stresses. What's next? Artist's husband, impetuous. I keep putting my shadow on there, it's dark enough as it is. Artist, member of the Royal Academy, RA. Husband abbreviated to H. I have never seen husband abbreviated to H anywhere except a Cryptic Crossword, but in Cryptic Crossword clues, H can be husband. So you have RA's H, giving me a word for impetuous, rash. Gross stupidity, to ignore fellow's contribution of thanks. Gross, as in gross register tons, or a few other things, abbreviated to GR. Stupidity, I had never heard of fatuity as a word, but I had heard of fatuous meaning stupid. So fatuity for stupidity will do. Right? To ignore fellow. There are a lot of professional abbreviations, fellow of the Society of Stonemasons or something like that, with F in them for fellow. Ignore the F of fatuity, put it on the end of GR, you get gratuity, which is something contributed as a symbol of thanks. It's like a tip to a waiter, or a bribe sometimes. 10. Looking back, ooh, that could mean flip it backwards. Doesn't have to. Leaders in, which could mean the first letters of. Yalta. What the heck, Yalta? Nobody's ever heard of Yalta. What is it, a place, a city, a country, a province, what? It's a weird word that begins with a rare letter, the letter Y. Leaders in, a bit like initially, it can mean the first letters of. Yalta after war, you noted acted. But it says looking back, so go the other way. A-N-Y-W-A-Y. Carelessly. Anyway. He did it anyway. As if he didn't care. 14. Loathe journalist's twisted examination. Ouch. Loathe means hate, or it could be a bunch of letters. Journalist tends to be editor, ED. Twisted can again mean turn around, or it could be mixed all over the place. As that's just two letters, the only option is turned round. And examination. Well, if you turn ed round, you get D, and an examination could be an oral, or an exam, or a test. D, test, means loathe. It's another word for hate. So we've got detest. That wasn't 14, that was 11. Crossing out the numbers doesn't make them easier to read. 12. Or 13. 13. One having unrealistic hopes of island timber at first. Island, quite often an I. Rhode Island, abbreviated to RI. Isle of Man, abbreviated to IOM. Channel Islands, abbreviated to CI. Timber at first could mean T, or it could be something to do with wood or trees coming before it. Or, first, the at could be a duff word, just to throw you off, just to make it read smoothly. And first could be, actually, first. We have that up here. Island, I, deal, timber, and first, right there. Okay, distraught ringsider has shock treatment. Oof. Yes, I remember this one being an oof. Right, the answer is shock treatment. Because you can have a shock of hair on your head, and if somebody is doing something about that, if somebody is treating that your hair being a shock and turning it into gleaming locks, well, that's hairdressing, isn't it? That's an action. Distraught, messed up, all over the place, having trouble, in pieces, anagram of ringsider has. That's 9 letters, that's 3 letters, anagram of those two, which makes 12. Anagram of those two together, hairdressing. Okay. Great achievements of French town, extremely decisive in support of church. 525. Yeah. Extremely is one of those keywords for wordplay, and being in the middle of the clue, it's probably not part of the definition. Extremely decisive is the extreme letters of decisive, the letters at the extremes, the D and the E. And there's a 2-letter word in the middle of this, and it does mention French. So de does sound reasonable. In support of, could be pro and con. It could be for and against. And church could be C or CH for church. It could be RC for Roman Catholic. It could be COE or COE, or just CE for Church of England. Usually CE. So you've got a possible de in the middle, and you've got 4 CE for your last 5. That gives us a French town. Now, I'm not entirely sure where it is, but I'm willing to believe there's a French town called Tours, as in Tour Eiffel, just a town called Towers. We have towns called all kinds of weird things in Europe. The Force, Tour de Force, great achievements. That'll do. Who's next? 20. Some deride march. Some is another one of those mechanical terms. It could mean just some of it, like Ridamar would be some of deride march. It's just the middle bit. Or some deride march encourage. It could be emarchen. It's not a word, but whatever. Encourage diplomatic move. Okay. And emarchen isn't a word, but démarche, I don't know whether there's an accent on it, is in fact a word, and it is kind of a diplomatic move. So we'll have démarche there. It really is. Right there in the clue. Implement of green power, say. You notice there's a question mark on this? The question mark says that Rach wasn't right happy with this clue. Rach thought this was a little bit dodgy, and I'm inclined to agree. Because the wordplay here is power say. Power gets abbreviated to P in GCSE physics. Another word for say is utter. P utter. Putter. Kind of golf club, which is an implement used on the golf green, so it is an implement of green. A well-earned question mark. Stars like revolutionary car. I'm not quite sure why revolutionary, but Gemini is a constellation and also a kind of car, first made in 1974. And I already had enough letters by the time I got to that one to just write it in. Sail away, protected by detective capital. And this one's got an exclamation mark. Dun, dun, dun. It's got an exclamation mark. It's gone out of focus because I zoomed in. Yeah. Sail away, protected by detective, capital. This was one of the last ones I put in. I got letters across it and then went, oh, right. Yes, I suppose it could be that. A jib is a sail slung from a boom mounted across the bowsprit of a ship. It's often used to describe the foresail on a dinghy. Technically that's incorrect. It's that stick that pokes out the front of an old sailing ship. There's another stick across it and there's a little tiny sail underneath that. That's a jib. Away, out. I'm away, I'm out of the office. So you've got sail away, and it does say protected by detective. And it is wearing a DI, a detective inspector, as armour. So that gives you a capital, Djibouti, the capital of Djibouti. If you're American, you've probably never heard of Djibouti. If you're English, you've probably never heard of Djibouti. Surprised to see crazy coming back. 4 letters. Coming back could mean turn round the other way, and indeed it does. Surprise, stun, to see crazy, nuts, coming back. 27 hasn't been crossed out, but I have got it. Loss of R-Phi rift developed. Right. Developed can be an anagram. R-Phi rift is 10 letters, and that's how many we want. Worth trying it, and it turns out forfeiture, which is a loss, giving away, giving up because it's been confiscated, is an anagram of R-Phi rift. So that's the across clues done. River language. Now there are an awful lot of rivers in England, and the name of any one of them could be part of the answer, or it could just be the letter R as part of the answer, or the answer could be a river. Language this writer's covering. This writer, oh my goodness. This writer was considered the proper way, put me or I in the letter, or it used to be for a while, you know, very formal speech. So, language this writer's covering. Oh, this writer apostrophe S, that which belongs to this writer, meaning my. In this writer's experience, yeah, in my experience, if you're speaking normal English, so my, covering S, which is a language of which you've probably never heard. Shelter, haunt, regularly visited. Ooh, regularly is actually another keyword. Yes, it is in use as that keyword here. In this case, they're saying regularly visited rather than just regularly to make it fit better. Shelter, haunt, regularly doesn't sound right. Regularly haunt, shelter would work. Shelter, haunt, regularly visited is the same thing. Shelter is the actual definition. Haunt, regularly visited, is you come to visit haunt, then you don't, then you do, then you don't, then you do, and you just run out of letters. In some cases this can be extremely long. It's every second or every third or every fourth letter of something. Every second letter of the word haunt gives you H-U-T. Hut, a shelter. Hut. Okay, 4 down. Not fully settled. Not fully. Description of mechanic and wordplay. Most of the word. If water in a bathtub has settled, or in the pool, after people stop swimming in it, has settled, it's still. Not fully gives you still with just one L. Baronet. Good grief. A British rank, back from the days of hereditary peerages. Rearing. This is a downward clue. If you're rearing, if a horse is rearing, it's rearing up. So, baronet, abbreviated to BT, written upwards, giving you TB. Irish, IR, standard abbreviation for, international use. Daughter, D. You may occasionally see a business marked, Timpson and S, which is Timpson and Son. Well, and D is apparently and daughter. Make sense? As water lover. Stilt bird. Again with the question mark, because a stilt bird isn't really a water lover, it's just a thing that survives by spending a lot of time around water. Mostly settled. baronet upwards, Irish, daughter. Thwarted potential immodesty. You what? As method of workings abandoned. Oh, by the way, yes. Yes, dogs are good people who understand us better than you may have thought, yes. Just in case anyone was wondering. I haven't read that article yet. Thwarted potential immodesty as method of workings abandoned. A method of working could be a modus operandi, abbreviated to MO, which you may have heard in crime dramas, but it's used for anybody else as well. Doesn't have to be, though. What else could a method of working be? Could be could be an anagram. Method. Could be working abandoned, or method of is worked. Anagram. Potential immodesty. You know, I got this one, and I understood it at the time. You know, thwarted is stymied, or stymied means thwarted. And potential immodesty. Oh, yes. Sorry. The letters, well, a D, an E, an I, two M's, an O, an S, a T and a Y are potentially immodesty. That group of letters is potentially immodesty. MO, method of working, abandoned, leaves you with D, E, I, just the one M, no O, S, T and Y. In a different order is stymied, meaning thwarted. Uninteresting second report. Second S, as in time given in YMD HMS, years, months, days, hours, minutes, seconds. Report, story, tale, S, tale, stale, uninteresting. Flexible notary seals final approval. Flexible, anagram, notary seals, royal assent, final approval on a bill in British Parliament. Oh yes, didn't like this. Northern child introduced to stolen goods, it shouldn't happen again. Well, a northern child, I'm looking at royal assent, that's the wrong place. A northern child is a lass, and there's one right there in the answer to a different clue, my mistake. Right, northern N, child, son, introduced to, put in the middle of, stolen goods, swag, gives you swan song, which is something that shouldn't happen again because there was a silly myth that mute swans sang a beautiful swan just as they were dying. Just once. Bullshit. Effort to persuade the Ontario 10 to reform. 10 written like that could be X, because that's 10 in Roman numerals. More often you'll see something like 51 as LI, or 99, IC in Roman numerals. In this case, I think it is an X. In this case it is X in Roman numerals, and to reform is anagram. The Ontario gives you 10 letters, plus that X, anagram, effort. To persuade. Exhortation is an effort to persuade. One content with continent. Europhile. Again with the question mark. Place for the other. Entwined, lots even. Entwined is an anagram. Anagram of lots even, 4-4, gives you love nest, a place for sex. The other is a somewhat old-fashioned British English euphemism, I think it's British English, for sex. So, love nest. Uncertainty about tree cover perhaps. Uncertainty. Do you know that if is the middle word in life? If you can keep your head and all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. About, turn round, gives you fee. Tree, elder. Cover is a position in cricket. Perhaps. So cover is one of the places that a fielder could be. If turned backwards, elder. State of confusion in German world over lady leader. Well, the German word for world is Welt, as in das ist die perfekte Welt, dies ist das perfekte Welt. Over lady leader, the current official head of state of the United Kingdom, Great Britain and a few other things, the Commonwealth, is Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, which in Latin would be Elizabeth Regina, or Elizabeth II Regina. Welt ER. You may see this on post boxes most often, on a Royal Mail van, back when it was Royal Mail. Is it still Royal Mail? Yeah. And welter means to move turbulently or to lie soaked in blood. Yeah, makes welterweight sound a whole lot more disturbing than it used to, doesn't it? So, state of confusion in a welter. That'll do. Principal criminal using cocaine for time. Right, cocaine gets abbreviated to C, time gets abbreviated to T. Criminal, there are a whole lot of different kinds of criminal. Politician is one of them. Using cocaine for time, that will give you a politician. And we only want 5 letters here, so we want a 5-letter criminal like, I don't know, arsonist? No, that's too many. Thief. Thief, using a C for the T, gives you chief, meaning principal. Chief. And frequently ring newspaper. Ring could be the letter O, because that's a ring. Newspaper, there are a lot of newspapers. One of them is the Financial Times, abbreviated to FT. O, FT. We only want 3 letters, so that'll do. Oft, meaning frequently. Oft. And that, folks, is a cryptic crossword done.